Hey guys, I just finished watching Don't Knock Twice. This is a UK film specifically out of Wales, which is interesting because I haven't seen too many movies out of Wales. I mean that to say that I haven't watched too many movies out of Wales, not that there aren't movies being made that come from Wales. I was looking forward to seeing this one based off the trailer because I thought the trailer was pretty cool. So let's get started. First we meet Chloe and her friend, or possibly her boyfriend, it was hard to tell. His name was Danny, and we were also introduced to her estranged mother. She has a strained relationship with her mother because her mother lost custody of her earlier on in her childhood, and judging by the age of the actress, I think we are to assume that she was a teenage parent. So anyways, Danny tells Chloe about this legend of a witch in which you knock twice on her door and she comes to get you. Since he thinks this is just an urban legend and he doesn't believe it at all, they go and knock on the witch's door twice for shits and giggles. This movie had some really great creepy imagery. Some of the imagery actually reminded me of Lights Out. Now, the thing about Lights Out for me is that I really enjoyed the imagery, but the storytelling and how the plot unfolded was very weak. So it's kind of like a 50-50 for me. Like, I love the imagery, especially that scene with the woman crouching in the corner and you see the red light flashing on and off. That was beautiful to me, but the story was just meh. There is one moment in the movie where the mom kind of takes the express train to Stupidville, and that's when she hears something in her house and decides to go and investigate it without turning on not a single light. Just walks through the entire dark house, looking around corners and calling her daughter's name, and I was just like, why aren't you turning on the lights? The build-up was really great for this. It was very tense, and I wouldn't call it slow, but it wasn't fast either. It was just a nice, steady build-up. The one thing I didn't understand is why the witch took some people that knocked twice right away, and other people she just kind of toyed around with them for a while. I think it would have made better sense if she toyed around with everybody equally for a while instead of just, immediately killing one person and then tormenting the next person. It also bothered me because for the first part of the movie, Chloe never tells her mother what she sees. I mean, there's literally one scene where she and her mother are sitting in the same room and Chloe sees the witch and she doesn't say anything to her mother, she just runs out of the room. I would have been like, do you see that witch over there? I really hate when characters do that. There's some really great tension in this movie, great suspense, and even a few good jump scares. At one point in the movie, Chloe had a shirt on that said, "Bitch, don't kill my vibe," and I thought that was funny. It would have been funnier if it said, "Witch, don't kill my vibe." Overall, the acting was pretty good in this. The story was pretty well thought out. The practical effects were very good. And of course, the great Javier Botet, who played Mama and La Niña Medeiros in Rec, and the Crooked Man in Conjuring 2, and all three ghosts in Crimson Peak. He actually played the witch. So in a nutshell, this is very worth the watch in my opinion. I've heard about another film called The Wicked, which is similar. I read the synopsis and it's a legend about if you break the window of a witch's house, she'll come to get you. So I think I might pair that one up with this and let you know how that movie is. Welcome back. Ordinarily I would say that I just watched Wicked, but I didn't because I watched it a few nights ago, but I was too tired to record, so let's talk about it now. I like the opening of the movie. I really like how they establish the lore of the witch and how if you throw a rock at her house and you accidentally hit a window, she comes after you. I like the way they set it up. It reminded me of something from the 80s and the 90s. I especially liked how they used a little girl who was the appropriate age. This little girl was cute as a button and she was about anywhere between 4 and 6 years old, I would guess. No older than 7. She might have been a smaller 7-year-old, but she was definitely age appropriate, unlike some other movies as of late that use kids that are way too old. A lot of times they use an 11 or 12-year-old to play this part of a small child, and it just looks all kinds of wrong when they're clutching a teddy bear and they're about to start puberty. They did that in a film called, had 2 different names. The Faith of Anna Waters, also known as The Offering. They used a 11 or 12-year-old girl and they had her act like a 6 or 7-year-old, and it just made her look like she was on the spectrum of special needs. Not that there's anything wrong with that being the case, as we saw in The Darkness where they used as a character trait for a child that child happened to be autistic. In The Faith of Anna Waters, the child was not autistic. It wasn't the character, it just came off that way when you use someone that's way too old to play a little kid, especially when you have someone trying to pick them up and carry them and they're 12 years old. It looks ridiculous. Let me just take a moment just to really explain what I mean. I was watching The Fate of Anna Waters, and the little girl, she was she was developing breasts. I mean, legit like middle school status little girl, and they had her acting like a kindergartner, and I couldn't. That's what made movies like Poltergeist and Child's Play work. Can you imagine if Carol Ann was 10, 11 years old? It wouldn't have worked the same way that it did having an actual 4-year-old. Can you imagine if Andy was 10 years old running around with a good guy doll and being afraid of Chucky? It just wouldn't have worked without having a smaller child. That's all I'm saying. Back to this movie. The very opening sequence has a child that's age appropriate, and I'm just giving it points for that. This movie really isn't to be taken seriously, and I figured this out when I heard this line exchanged when a an older teenage boy is sitting down and he says, my grandfather just died, and the teenage girl says to him, well, he was old, wasn't he? I also love this line. You know my little brother, he's a dick and he'll tell. That was kind of realistic. Anyways, I can tell you that this was, when I was watching it, I could tell it was not going to be a really good movie, but it was the right type of bad to actually be good. The two main characters are brothers. One looks to be about a senior in high school. Oh, actually he mentions it being his senior year in high school, and the younger brother looks like he could be in 8th grade or 9th grade. I think that's what they were going for. Obviously the actor is going to be a little bit older, even though we just talked about how they had an age-appropriate actor for the child. I feel like the actor for the younger brother, they could have gotten someone a little bit younger looking. The older brother has a full set of friends, and the younger brother only has one friend who's a tomboy named Sammy, who has an alcoholic mother and gets harassed by the town sheriff, I guess he is. I really like Sammy. She kind of reminds me of a cross between Jodie Foster and that girl that was in the nutless version of Battle Royale who was too good to dress up like Mystique in the last X-Men movie. Can't remember her name, but you know who I'm talking about. I mean, she didn't even put on a Mystique makeup for more than like 2 minutes, and that's why Rebecca Romijn will always be Mystique. The two brothers don't really get along, which is kind of par for the course when you're a teenager. I know when I was a teenager, my sister was also a teenager. That wasn't the best time for us to get along, so that was pretty realistic as well. The older brother is going camping with his friends, even though his dad told him that they are to stay in the house since a child has been abducted. And the younger brother gets talked into kind of following his older brother out to the campsite by Sammy. Of course, somebody goes to the witch's house and breaks the window, and that's how we have our horror movie. The one thing I kept thinking about this movie was, if the witch's house has been there for generations and this has been the lore to break the windows out of the witch's house and she'll come for you, it made me wonder, why is there any glass left in the window? But the movie actually does address that point. There was a false scare in this movie that completely made me jump, and I'm gonna give you credit for that too. Overall, this was a pretty enjoyable movie. It's definitely a fun Friday or Saturday night movie to watch. Like I said, it's not, top tier Oscar caliber movie making, but it was enjoyable. It was a lot of fun. It was the perfect, what I would call, rental back in the days when you would go to Blockbuster or to the mom and pop rental shop. At times it felt a little made for TV movie, and then other times it didn't feel that way at all, but I really liked it.